The UN Special Envoy for Syria has said that peace efforts will have to be relaunched following the US-led bombing of the country. Last week, America, the UK and France fired more than 100 cruise missiles at Syria, saying it was in response to an alleged chemical attack. Stefan de Mistura discussed the issue with the Russian foreign minister, who said the bombing has derailed the peace process.
Expected this to be so tense and very potential danger of peace and security. This, what has happened last week, has not helped Astana, Sochi and Geneva.
The three countries, the US, the UK and France, have not only bombed imaginary chemical facilities in Syria, but also bombed the Geneva peace process.
Well, although no actual categorical evidence of chemical weapons being used has been put forward, the Assad government's been accused of gassing civilians. And even before the international chemical watchdog could start its official probe into the allegations, the US, UK and France launched airstrikes on the country, largely on the basis of social media reports.
We cannot launch, the United States cannot launch a military attack based upon innuendo and without real facts. Again, we saw this in 2003, and we're still living through the disastrous consequences of that decision. If you're going to launch a military attack, particularly in this part of the world where so many other players are potentially involved, such as Russia, Iran, and as well as Syria itself, it could easily cause a slippery slope of a catastrophic disaster in that region, if not in the world. The ability for escalation at that point, military escalation, is great. And we saw that in Iraq. So are we going to be seeing history repeating itself, but on a larger scale?
Well, Polly Boyko takes a look now at what's being portrayed in the West as a humanitarian intervention in Syria.
After allegations of a chemical attack, Syrians were immediately reassured because, in case you missed it, heavily armed Western warplanes were on their way with a humanitarian intervention. Missiles from France, Britain and the US are like no other because they combine high-tech killing power with good intentions. There are plenty of other countries involved in the Syrian clusterfuck, but it's only the really nice ones doing it for humanitarian purposes. The Anglo-Saxons and the Gauls are traditionalists after all. When it comes to weapons, they prefer the conventional kind. They've tried the chemical ones and the biological and the nuclear ones in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq I and Iraq II. So when they tell you they'd really rather you didn't use them, they are, after all, speaking from experience. So the message to despots and terrorists is stick to conventional weapons and, if possible, buy them from Western arms dealers, because that way you can fire them safely from the moral high ground. These three amigos dubbed their Friday foray into Syria a humanitarian intervention. They literally fired millions of dollars worth of humanitarian aid into the country. Storm Shadow missiles were humanely intervening at $1 million apiece, while every Tomahawk cruise missile represents a $1.5 million aid package. All extremely efficient in getting help to the people who really need it. So what did the Syria mission really achieve, apart from blowing up a few empty buildings where everyone had been told to take the night off anyway? For leaders under the cosh in Washington, London and Paris, this kind of PR is the bomb. Surgically striking a lesson into Syria makes for much better headlines at home than Stormy, Comey, Brexit and Parisian protesters getting a police gassing of their own. Mission accomplished.